So Marvel's Thunderbolts came out a couple weeks ago, and I really enjoyed this movie. I don't think it's like a top 10 MCU project or anything, but I do think it's like a strong 7.58 out of 10, which is a blessing for modern MCU fans. But I came across this video a couple days ago from one of the worst media reviewers on the platform. Thunderbolts gave me the Marvel Cringe, and I decided to see what this idiot had to say this time around. So without further ado, let's get into the video.
It's the movie equivalent of an annual dental checkup. You know it's coming, but it's not like you're pumped up to get started on it or anything. And why would you be? It's just another by-the-numbers team-up movie featuring a bunch of B and C-list characters that most people can barely remember from films and TV shows most of us didn't watch, taking on a nebulous threat that's poorly explained in a series of action scenes that look like they've been done a million times before. Not exactly compelling stuff.
Wow, so we're already starting off the video just like so many of his other dogshit reviews, and just like one that I've already responded to in the past. Almost every single thing he just said is a blanketed statement with no explanation as to why something is actually bad, which is one of my least favorite things that I come across when looking at critique videos. And him saying, oh well, it's a movie about a bunch of B and C list characters that nobody cares about, as if Marvel hasn't done that multiple times already in the past. And him saying that the main villain is poorly explained. Will he explain why he feels this way later in the video? Well, let's see.
But is it really as bad as we expected, or does Thunderbolts somehow manage to pull off a surprise win? Well, let's find out together, shall we?
Let's begin.
The movie begins with discount Black Widow, who's feeling sad and worthless because there's not much going on in her life outside of her work. And if that's not a neat encapsulation of modern feminism, frankly, I don't know what is.
What?
What does anything you just said have to do with modern feminism, quote unquote? Like, I'm actually so lost right now. And her conflict isn't that she's sad and worthless because there's not much going on in her life outside of her job or whatever. You could say that's part of it, but the root of her depression stems from the fact that she's constantly doing terrible things, and she's been doing shit like this ever since she was a child. And she's been bottling all of it up and distancing herself from others for a very long time. But nah, bro, it's just it's all modern feminism, I guess.
That just makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit. Fuck.
Anyway, after completing her latest mission to blow up a lab in Southeast Asia, she's sent by discount Selena Meyer to infiltrate a high-security vault in the middle of nowhere where an enemy agent is about to steal a bunch of classified secrets. Now, a normal person might think it's a bit suspicious that discount Selena Meyer apparently knows exactly when and where she's gonna get robbed, but well, I guess discount Black Widow isn't a normal person.
I mean, that's certainly one way to frame how the movie plays out, but that's not what happens. Valentina tells Yelena that intel came in from a rogue operative, meaning someone on the inside, is planning to rob her. And with the heat that Valentina is currently under with, trying to hide her experiments so that she isn't impeached, it makes complete sense that Yelena would believe this, just like any normal person, quote unquote. I need you guys to understand how stupid this criticism is. This man just said that it's unbelievable that an intelligence operative wouldn't find it suspicious that an intelligence agency gathered intelligence.
Just how dense can a person be?
But when she does get there, she finds John Walker, Ghost, and Task Manager waiting for her. It turns out they've all been sent here to kill each other in a kind of circular firing squad because discount Selena Meyer is now under congressional investigation and has decided to erase all evidence of her dodgy activities, including everyone that she employs. Once they're sealed inside the vault, a self-destruct timer activates to vaporize the whole place.
Not a great plan.
Wow, it's lucky that they all happened to arrive here at the same exact time, otherwise this never would have worked. It's even more lucky that there was a 2-minute countdown to detonation, thus giving them fair warning and plenty of time to escape. It's even luckier that the power source for the sonic barrier preventing Ghost from unlocking the doors just so happens to be in the room with them.
So this is the only part of the video I really agree with. I do think that the power source for the barrier being in the same room as them and the timer for the incinerator thing to warm up or whatever is pretty dumb. I even mentioned this in my video, and I also think another problem with this scene is the fact that there's like some some plot armor for some of the characters. With how the fight plays out, I don't think these are problems that are like, oh man, this movie sucks now because of this, da 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 da. But as for them all being there at the same time, one of his criticisms, I don't know how that would be contrived. Valentina could have easily orchestrated them all to be there at around the same time, so how does that not make sense? Like, even if you think about it for 1 second. Actually, as I was rewatching the movie for the next point that I'm about to refute, I thought of a slight defense for the incinerator thing. So with Valentina having this place as one of her, places of operation, an incinerator used to incinerate things, I would imagine that there would be people working on the incineration process for her. So I'd imagine the timer is probably a safety precaution, as well as the power source being in the same room as them. And also, her original plan was to have them all kill each other anyway, and she didn't expect at all in the slightest that they would start working together when they were literally all trying to kill each other. And she's monitoring the whole thing. And on top of that, she has backup ready that she can get there, and did get there very quickly in the event that something goes wrong. So I don't really think this is much of a problem with the movie anymore.
So they make it out just in the nick of time, naturally, and it turns out they've got a new friend with them. This is Bob, a test subject for an experimental new program to create the Sentry, basically Marvel's answer to Superman. The longer Bob's conscious, the more his powers start to manifest until he's captured by discount Selena Meyer and brought back to New York to be unveiled to the public. Luckily though, Red Guardian shows up in a limo because he overheard discount Selena Meyer's entire plan when she was riding in his car, because I guess supervillains are happy to divulge their most intimate and damaging secrets in front of complete strangers. There's just all kinds of convenient luck happening in this movie.
Yeah, this criticism would make sense if she actually said anything important. Like, if you actually listen to the dialogue in the scene, no regular person, or even hypothetically speaking, a congressperson, let's say they were in the car, they wouldn't even know what she's talking about. She doesn't say a location or what exactly is really happening. The only reason Red Guardian knows what she's talking about is because he's talked to Yelena. I'm not gonna play the scene due to, how long it is, so it'll get copyrighted on my video, but I'll leave it to the people that know how to watch movies online to rewatch that scene if they so care to. And also, if you were to, criticize the movie on it being convenient that Red Guardian was her limo driver, I don't really think it is, considering the fact that he wants to work with Valentina. So I think it makes sense that he would put himself in a position to be her limo driver, considering he's a limo driver.
So the gang heads to New York to save Bob, but he goes a bit crazy and turns against everyone, so discount Selena Meyer activates a kill switch, but then he comes back to life as Angry Bob and makes a big cloud of sadness that swallows up New York City. But that's okay, because discount Black Widow and the gang go into the sadness cloud and help Bob defeat Angry Bob by having a good old cry, and then everything goes back to normal and somehow they become the new Avengers.
Okay, so we're just summing up the plot and speaking like things don't make sense while not actually explaining a problem. Wow. This review is incredible so far. I'm sure most people with some semblance of intelligence would watch this and see how bad of a video it is, right? Oh. Well, at least we got some people.
I've said on various open bars that I expected Thunderbolts to be a relatively decent, by the numbers, and ultimately forgettable action team-up movie that would probably fail to make much of a splash at the box office. But boy, was I wrong on that one. This movie is actually surprisingly shit, and the biggest problems stem from the complete tonal whiplash that it gives you. On the one hand, there's actually a pretty interesting attempt to explore the impact of personal trauma, depression, failure, a loss of self-worth, and a search for meaning and fulfillment in life. There's hints of this with Yelena and the rest of the gang, broadly mirroring the trauma that haunts and ultimately threatens to overcome Bob. And holy shit, the performance by Lewis Pullman is by far the best part of this entire movie. The guy is able to switch from befuddled innocence to haunted victim to a terrifying godlike entity in the space of a single scene. And if anything, I wanted to see more of this shit.
So he said that the movie is surprisingly shit, but then goes on to praise the entire thing that the movie is about, pretty much, and praises how good the main antagonist was. Okay, but there's a but coming, so let's hear it.
The problem is, the movie doesn't have time to give this stuff the narrative depth that it needs, and it ignores most of the struggles of the rest of the team altogether. Why? Because we need to make more time for Marvel humor, protracted action scenes, pointless exposition, references to stuff that most people didn't even watch, and more Marvel humor.
Can you explain how the movie doesn't give the main stuff the time it needs to get explored as much as it needs to be? I mean, they do it perfectly fine for the main characters that they focus on, like Bob and fucking Yelena. And I agree, some of the characters don't get explored as much as others do, but you realize that's how a lot of stories work, right? Like even the Avengers movies. They have characters that don't have their conflict explored as much as other characters do. Like, is it a problem in Avengers 1 that Thor, Black Widow, Hulk, Hawkeye, none of these characters get as much character stuff as Cap and Tony, or Loki? Like, sure, we could get get more stuff with other characters, but acting as though the whole movie is just barely any character stuff and is just filled with action scenes and jokes is just blatantly not true if you actually watched the movie. If anything, it's the complete opposite. And could you provide me with even more than one example where jokes or action undercut the character stuff? Can you provide me with even one example? Can you explain what needed to be explored more about what specific characters? Can you explain what exactly was underdeveloped and how it was underdeveloped? Well, I guess not, because you never actually do in most of your videos, as pretty much every single one of them plays out the exact same way. Remember when you made a video trashing The Boys Season 4 and you formed your opinion based on Rotten Tomatoes scores? Man, that was a great video.
And this brings me on to by far the biggest problem with Thunderbolts. It's a tiny kernel of an interesting and serious idea buried under a mountain of all the usual shit that blights Marvel movies. It's like they heard all of the memes about the formulaic nature of their films, and instead of correcting themselves to counter it, they decided to lean even harder into it out of pure fucking spite.
Can you give me even one slightly detailed explanation about anything you're talking about? Give me one example.
The character development in this movie is completely fucked. Ghost is a character that I barely even remember from Ant-Man 2, so this would have been a perfect time to give her some actual personality and a narrative arc. Instead, she does almost nothing throughout the whole movie. Her powers are nerfed whenever they'd be inconvenient to the plot, which is most of the time to be fair, and I was left wondering why she's even in the film.
Ghost has an entire narrative arc and a personality in Ant-Man 2. If you want what you're asking for, go watch that movie. This movie does not need to do that. Why is this movie not allowed to be just like any other movie and have certain characters they want to focus more on? I guess by this same token, we could say Avengers 1 has a massive problem by not giving Black Widow and Hawkeye very much character stuff, especially when both of them have absolutely fuck all before this, even in Iron Man 2. And I'm gonna ask again, can you elaborate or give me one example besides the beginning of the movie, which I already went over, where they're in the incinerator room, where Ghost was nerfed and her powers weren't used, you know, how they should be, for the sake of the plot? I mean, you say it's most of the movies, so surely you can give some examples, right?
John Walker exists for no other reason than to be wrong about everything and constantly mocked and belittled by the strong female characters around him. You know, like basically every other Marvel movie since Endgame.
Or he exists because he has a shared conflict with the rest of the characters in the group, and it makes complete sense for him to be in this movie after Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and also he's a part of the Thunderbolts in the comics. And I like how you said he's mocked and belittled by all the female characters, yet he was beating the absolute dog shit out of Yelena when they first fought, and all of them get their asses kicked by Bob, the white straight male. Also, all of them get saved and carried by Bucky and or Red Guardian at points in this movie, both white straight men. It's almost like there's a massive point about everyone in this group being shitty and wrong about things. I guess it was also a problem when Yelena mocked and belittled Ghost at the end of the movie too, and everybody in the group. And mind you, Bucky and Sam also mocked and belittled John Walker in Falcon and Winter Soldier, and the reason they talk to him like this is because John's a fucking dickhead. Also, aren't you the same person that says that he doesn't like when politics inject themselves in media where it doesn't concern them, or for no reason? Okay, so why are you now interjecting politics where they don't belong, or where it doesn't concern them at multiple points in this video? Huh.
Red Guardian's still an obnoxiously loud moron, proving the point that just shouting stuff really loud isn't a substitute for humor.
Counterpoint. Red Guardian is peak. No, but like on a serious note, whether Drinker finds him funny or not, I don't really care. Like, humor is one of the most subjective things in the world, but he did get some nice depth added to his character in this movie that ties greatly into Yelena's same conflict.
Bucky's here because they couldn't think of anything else to do with his character.
No, Bucky's there because he fits completely within a movie where the main theme is depression due to a traumatic past. He is also someone who's a Thunderbolt in the comics. And while Bucky isn't explored like majorly in the movie or anything, they do some nice stuff to continue him in this universe by showing him as a congressman trying to do good things by not needing to be the Winter Soldier, quote unquote, but ultimately he has to be that person in order to get things done in this movie.
And as for Ass Blaster, well, all I'll say is don't get too attached to her.
Oh no! What happened?
What was he saying earlier in the video about humor?
And for the life of me, I'll never understand why Marvel keep trying to make Yelena a thing. I mean, what exactly are we supposed to find appealing about this character? She's basically a shorter, dumpier, less appealing version of Black Widow with a shitty Russian accent and played by a disinterested Florence Pugh who practically faxes in her performance. She is way better than movies like this, and she knows it.
Bro, what? Like, yeah, no shit, her conflict is similar to Black Widow. They went through very similar things as a child, but we see her struggling with her past as she wants to try and be something more, just like her sister. Only instead of seeing that past self being, you know, mentioned in a passing mention, we actually get to see Yelena doing the horrible shit before she has the opportunity to be a part of something bigger like Black Widow did. And I don't understand how you don't have the brain to, like, realize, wow, a struggle like not feeling like you're worth anything and feeling like life is meaningless and feeling shitty because of past mistakes wouldn't be appealing to a lot of people, as it's a very relatable character struggle. And Florence Pugh has like the best performance in this movie along with Louis Pullman. Like, you just praised her performance by saying that she seems disinterested and bored. Like, that's kind of the point.
Your intellect is as weak as your dollar. Failure is your destiny. You disrespect yourself and your nation. You are made of stupid.
And you are right, Florence Pugh has been in much better movies. But if I recall, you also made another shitty review about one of those movies, being Midsummer.
You know, there's a phenomenon here in my country that we call the Scottish cringe, a kind of inherited cultural embarrassment that we all feel because we all know we're a bit shit these days. We never say it out loud and we don't really admit it even to ourselves, but deep down, we all feel it.
You know, you saying this actually makes a lot of sense after watching multiple of your videos. It's actually one of, if not the only thing in this video that's made sense.
And the reason I bring this up is that, well, Thunderbolts is a perfect example of what I hereby dub the Marvel cringe. Watching this movie, I was struck by this weird feeling of embarrassment, not just for the people making slop like this, but for me as the audience.
Were you also embarrassed when you made an absolutely abysmal movie?
Watching a bunch of aging actors dressed up in their goofy outfits, reciting the hackneyed dialogue and the lame jokes, the physics-defying action scenes and the overdramatic villains, it's like watching a teenager who's still playing with action figures, or a woman in her 30s still listening to Taylor Swift songs, or a middle-aged man still going to nightclubs. All of them stunted, unable or unwilling to accept that the world around them is changing and it's time to move on now.
Dog, what are we even talking about anymore? Like,
The MCU practically defined the cinematic zeitgeist of the 2010s, and love it or hate it, you can't deny the enormous success it had, but that was a long time ago now. Times have changed and the zeitgeist has moved on, and movies like Thunderbolts now feel like dated, unfashionable holdovers from a different era, from a franchise that can't or won't accept that it just isn't that relevant anymore.
I mean, that's ironic considering it made more money than most movies ever make, and people are absolutely enjoying the shit out of this movie, so it must really suck that, you know, hardworking and talented artists such as yourself aren't making the same boom in the industry.
A bottom of the barrel kind of movie, made to fill a release slot and keep the MCU grinding forward until the inevitable reboot comes along to start the whole process over again.
Okay.
Well, that's gonna be the end of this response. Sorry about it being so late. I was actually gonna drop this like a week ago, but I was waiting for a sponsor, and then that sponsor is making me post it at a later date. So that's why this video is late. If you want to go and watch his video for yourself, it will be in the description. I thank you all for watching, and yeah.